Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to Max Potential Coaching. For today's video, I'm going to talk about the differences between coaching, counseling, consulting, advising, mentorship, and training. I want to cover the differences between these developmental tools because there tends to be a lot of overlap between what some of them provide and what some of them don't. But a lot of people will use these terms interchangeably as if they mean the same thing. So I want to take some time in this video to talk about the differences between each one. And keep in mind, there is some overlap between them, and that's why this can be a bit of a confusing topic for most people. So I'm going to do my best to break this down for you and give you the most concise, succinct difference between each one of the developmental tools and how they differ from each other. So I'll share a slide with you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use essentially a coaching question, a counseling question, a consulting statement, maybe more of a subtle definition of mentorship and advising to help articulate the difference. So what I'll do is I will share my screen and we will get into it. So for starters, at the top of the list, what I have here is coaching. So the first thing about coaching is that I'm going to use the question here is, what do you think is holding you back from achieving the results you want? This is a more pointed coaching question to help illustrate the fact that the coach is not telling the coachee what to do. They're not telling them what their problem is. They're essentially paraphrasing and communicating that they understand the coachee wants to achieve a goal, but they feel there's hurdles in the way that are keeping them from doing that. So that's why I want to use this coaching question to articulate the difference. Coaching is more of a developmental process based around a passive approach to problem solving. You don't tell the coach doesn't tell the coachee what to do. That's going to be more of the actual consulting side, which I'll cover here in just a moment. But this is what I wanted to say, look, coaching is going to be more about taking a passive approach. Your coach is there to hold you accountable, to help you through these things, to ask you questions like this, to work with you to develop your action plan. But in this little hypothetical scenario that I just sort of made up, the coaching question is, what do you think is holding you back from achieving the results you want? So the coach, you would have some results that they want, but they can't quite get there yet because they're having trouble identifying the hurdles. So this is when the coach would work with them in a more inquisitive way. What exactly are these hurdles? How would you want to get around them, or how have you tried to get around them in the past? So this is how we can articulate what coaching really is and the approach that can be used for specifically this type of engagement. Next up, we have counseling. So I'm sure all of you know that counseling is more about managing your emotional health, your mental health, and addressing maybe trauma from the past or the present. So what I have here is what I would consider more of a counseling question. How do you feel about the changes you want to make in your life? So this can be a little confusing because this might be a type of question that a coach would ask. But essentially, it wouldn't be more centered around their feelings. It'd be more centered around the approach they would want to take, more about why do they want to make this change and what can they benefit from it. A counselor might do that as well. That's why this one can be difficult. But just remember, the major difference between coaching and counseling is that counseling focuses on mental health, focuses on their feelings, focuses on their emotions, their mental health, and helping them deal with trauma if that's occurred. Coaching is going to be more developmental, focused around achieving some goals and working. Like for me personally, I work in the professional space, professional coaching, leadership development, executive coaching, and career coaching. So counseling is more about addressing the emotional side of things. Coaching does not do that. Next up is consulting. So the statement I have here says, let's solve the problem using XYZ as our primary solution. So a consultant's job is to actively problem solve whatever case they're working on. So this could be anything. You can say, okay, your business needs to make more money. So let's solve that problem using XYZ as our primary solution. That primary solution might be, lay off employees, cut cost on products, maybe downsize your organization, maybe sell a different product or a different service. The whole solution could be a vast variety of things. But the consultant is there to tell you what to do. They're there to actively solve the problem for you. That's why they're being paid. The coach does not take this direct approach with you. The reason is because if a coach tells you what to do and then you fail at it, it was never your developmental process to begin with. It was a coach telling you what they think that you should do. Now, a coach may provide you with suggestions. Have you considered this or that? Have you considered speaking to your manager about your promotion? Have you considered exploring another option, another career path that might get you where you want to go? Not necessarily telling you what to do, because the coach cannot tell you what's best for you. Only you know what's best for you. And that's why the exploratory nature of coaching can be very, very beneficial for you. And the consulting side is very direct, the shortest path possible to success, or essentially what has been labeled as success. But they essentially solve the problem for you. The coaching works with you to solve the problem, but in your own way. Next up is training. So training is a bit easier to understand because it has a very direct goal in mind. So essentially the statement I have here is, let me teach you how to build your coaching skills so you can help others. So training is about skill development, upskilling. In a coaching engagement, you might talk about your coachee participating in a type of training that they want to go through. They might do this to upskill, which is what training is for. But the coaching is different because the coach isn't telling you what to upskill. And also, even if you agree on a plan of action, said, I'm going to go work on getting a coaching skills training workshop so I can learn how to better actively listen. I want to learn how to do action planning for other people. The actual training that's taking place focuses on developing the actual skill, not actually taking you through a coaching engagement. They have a very set process. Come to this workshop to learn XYZ skills. In this example, they want to learn coaching skills. So they come there, they participate in the training, they gather initial knowledge about the skill they want to learn, they practice the skill, they use the skill, and they try to master the skill. That's the whole point of training. Coaching, you might talk about training and a type of training you want to go through, but essentially you're not going to work through that with your coach. There can be some exceptions if it's a little more of a role play based scenario where you want to practice the conversation you're going to have, or you might want to talk through a situation that's happening because you want to explore your thoughts on that. But still, that's not training, that's coaching. Training focuses specifically on the actual skill development. Next up, we have mentorship. So on this entire list, I would say mentorship is the most closely related developmental tool to coaching than any of the other tools that we've discussed thus far. So with mentorship, essentially you have what I have here is that I will share my knowledge and experience with you to help you develop. And in parentheses, I have pay it forward. Mentorship is typically an unpaid service. It's typically somebody who wants to just, like I said, share their knowledge, share their experience to help someone else develop. And I pay it forward because a lot of the times mentors might ask you to take on a mentee. If you're going to be mentored, maybe you should consider mentoring others as well. Now, I have heard instances of paid mentorship. It seems to be a bit on the rare side. I've never come across this, and I don't know many people who have, but I have heard that it exists. To me, that doesn't really make sense. A paid mentor, that's essentially going to be more of an advisor, which I'll talk about here in a moment. But mentorship is probably the most closely related thing to coaching, because you might have a mentor that will ask you a lot of the same questions that a coach will. They may even provide suggestions the way a coach will. But essentially, the mentor is sharing their own personal knowledge and experience. They may have never gone through what you're going through. They may not help you develop an action plan. They might just provide you with some situational experience, knowledge, and even guidance. If you're entering the workforce for the first time and you have a mentor that's talking to you about their experience as their first job, and they found that, hey, I found that these 3 things were the easiest way to help me, get my footing in my new job. So maybe the mentee who's being mentored might consider those things. Or it could be something along the lines of, when I first started a company, I did XYZ. And the mentee might say, okay, maybe that would be helpful to me. What did you do with your company when you did this? That's rarely going to be something you talk to a coach about. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but I would say it's highly unlikely that you're actually going to be talking to a coach about how they build their business. They're going to be more along the lines of coaching you through the specific goals that you have set with maybe building your own business. So that's where mentors and coaches can be dissimilar. Now, that can be still a bit confusing, but the thing is, mentors are providing guidance. Coaches are providing essentially passive problem solving for you. You might get some problem solving tips from your mentor, but that's essentially not what they're there to do. They're there to share guidance with you. And lastly, we have advising. So advising is more of like a director type position. It's more active in terms of the problem solving. So it's more closely related to a consultant than an actual coach. So what I have here for the statement for advising, I will share my expertise with you and your team to streamline your success. So they're there to help you solve the problem. They're not going to solve it for you directly like a consultant will. They're going to direct you on how to do this. They're there to advise you as maybe the president, the CEO, CFO, whomever you may be. Maybe it's for a board of directors. So they're there to provide their expertise to help you come up with a plan, but it's essentially going to be up to you to solve the problem. The consultant's there to get paid to solve the problem for you. So it's more closely related to consulting than coaching, as the coach isn't there to solve the problem for you. They're there to walk with you through that journey and to help provide you with accountability, to provide some guidance here and there, maybe some suggestions on what they've noticed about you, but also working with you in your action plan and helping you to achieve the results that you're interested in getting. The advisor is going to tell you how to get those results based on their expertise. Because if you're running a startup or if you're just in a very large company, you're facing a particular issue, you might bring in an advisor to help you solve this problem because you can't necessarily hire a consultant for everything. So that covers the developmental tools, and I hope I've been able to articulate the difference for you to help you understand each one a little more in depthly and understand what the primary focus is of each one and how that differs from coaching. Coaching could be a part of each one of them, but it may not be their specific focus. They just might use coaching in a particular instance because it might be helpful to spice in a little bit of coaching skills every now and then. Mostly probably on the active listening and open-ended questioning side to gather more information around the whole process. So I hope you liked the video. I hope you found this helpful. If you disagree with anything I have here, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this. If you have maybe a more concise way that you would articulate the difference, leave a comment about that as well. Please consider liking the video, sharing it, and subscribing if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.